likely to, as they say in the Old Testament lamentations, there's going to be gnashing of teeth when I bring up the next one, which is an Apple Watch.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the tea room. I'm Tickers. Let me just introduce you to the regular panel. On my left-hand side, we have Palm. Good evening, Palm.
Evening, John. Evening, everyone.
And below, we have Andy, Batch Guitar. Hello, Andy.
Hey, good evening, everyone.
And today, we have two very special guests. We have Rikki and Dave from Scottish Watches, who are going to show us some of their personal collection of watches. Good evening, guys. How are you doing?
Not too bad.
Very good, thank you.
Good to see you again, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
So, what we're going to do is see what is on the wrist. So, apparently, Rikki
Dave goes
first. Dave goes first.
We're not playing this game.
You have to go first this time. I'll go first when we do the proper bit.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Dave
I'll go first. I'll go first
go.
just to appease him. So currently, I have this on, which I don't know if you can see it. The light in here is not great. This is a Citizen. It's not a Chapek. No, this is Citizen ProMaster Tough, which is the BN0118 Accutron. This is arguably one of the best value watches, bar none, on the market. That's all I'm going to say.
Wow. Very nice.
Nice. Okay.
My kind of stick, that. That's good. Like that.
Next to
And
Dave to
Rikki?
prepare for video by setting up the lights properly. I'm wearing today my latest purchase, my Rolex Daytona on Oyster Flex. Got this in July.
Heavy hitter.
Yeah, that kind of stopped me buying watches for the rest of the year.
My God.
Can
I can
imagine.
imagine, I can imagine.
Wow.
So, John, surprise us.
There is no surprise. I am still wearing my 2021.
We're bored of that one now. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I know. But well,
I'll go on then. I'll go. Here we go. Look, he loves it. So
Yeah, let him have the moment.
Every day.
Every day. Yeah.
Just every day. You can tell. Yes. There you go. Love it.
So, Andy, what you got, my friend?
Oh, so I'm doing the same as John, really. 1973 Tudor Snowflake submariner.
Ooh,
Very nice. I have seen it many times, but that is stunning.
Would you ever swap? Would you ever swap that for an FXD?
I wouldn't, no.
Okay.
So me,
Sorry.
I was going to wear my Vacheron Constantin 222. Oh, sorry, Tissot PRX. If you want to understand that joke, watch our video at Bonham's, the Bonham's video at Watch Pro, and then you'll get that joke. But instead, I've got the OG Batman on.
Ooh,
Ooh.
very nice.
Very nice.
Right. So what we'll do is go through 4 watches from both of the guys, their favorites in reverse order. So 4th favorite to most favorite. And first, we're going to have Rikki.
Nothing like changing the rules just before you put somebody under the spotlight.
Yeah.
Don't worry about which order it is at all, guys. Just chat about them.
Okay, any order you want then.
I was going to do it any order anyway. Don't you worry.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to play your game with you and say I'm going to go in chronological order of watches bought and retained. And this is my Batman, the OG. So
great watch.
2017 edition.
Nice.
Then it was discontinued. Then it was brought back with the Jubilee. Then they went, we'll just sell it with everything. So this was my... Let me figure this one out. This is my 3rd luxury watch purchase. My first one didn't work. Returned it. Second one I bought, I liked. But I'd managed to end up somehow on a waiting list by accident for this. And got a call a couple of months later saying, your Batman has turned up. Wasn't expecting it, so immediately went and bought it, because even back in 2017, to say no to something like that at retail, you would be stupid. And I am stupid, but not that stupid. So I picked that up, and it's the watch that will not leave the collection, no matter what. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to admit, I don't wear it as often as I'd like, because I've got too many watches, and me and Dave get too many watches sent in for review all the time due to the podcast, and also I've got another Rolex that is more the current darling because it's newer. So there we go. That's my first
Being
watch.
kicked to the curb, is it? Okay, fair enough.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Am I allowed to just quickly ask how many watches you have, Ricky, or would you not allowed to
Oh.
reveal that information?
I can't count that high. I'm Scottish. Didn't really go to school.
He's allowed. He just doesn't.
I think
Okay,
probably
okay.
it depends, right? Because people do ask this question. What is classified as part of your watch collection? Does that include the £20 items you find in TK Maxx for a giggle when you're out and about? Does it involve your eBay purchases of dead Enickers and things like that? Or is it working stuff?
I'd say working stuff.
Working stuff
Yeah.
is classed as
Stuff.
part of your
Jesus.
collection, which you would wear if you had them in
Like a-
rotation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good ones then. We're talking good ones.
Yes, those are good ones. Yeah.
Probably 15, 10, 15. Half
Oh,
decent
okay.
ones.
Sorry, I was thinking a lot
Nice.
more. I apologise.
No, there is. There's a lot more. There's a lot of G-Shocks, a lot of Swatch watches. Dave has infected me. It has taken a while, but it's set in like the zombie apocalypse. There are many ticking watches that have batteries removed. And then sometimes we get watches in for review that they leave with us for 6 months. And they say, guys, just return them next time we see you. So they're not part of our collection as in we own them, but they're kind of a rotating collection that we're allowed to wear. For instance, we were at an event last night and we had I had a Zodiac watch to wear for that one because it was kind of fitting, and we've had that one in for quite a few months. So I'd say good ones, 15 to 20, and then extended collection, maybe about 100 plus.
Wow.
100.
Okay.
Where do you keep 100 watches? Okay.
In a safe, in a safety deposit box, under the bed, all kinds of places.
Okay, cool.
Right. Yeah.
So, Dave,
Thank
watch number one, please.
Watch number one is Seiko. This is the SLA 017, which is the faithful kind of re-edition of the 6217, which was also known as the 62 Mast,
62
back from 1965, which was
Beautiful.
one of the original divers. Now, the thing I love about this watch is this is one of the start, I guess, of the kind of really faithful reinterpretations of those kind of 1960s divers that Seiko are so well known for, that have, to be honest, also kind of burgeoned into a massive collection of reinterpretations, reimaginations, resizings, and all sorts of kind of stuff that's going on since then. But, that's, I guess, one of the OGs of the kind of start of the Seiko properly diving into their back catalogue, and love or loathe some of the reinterpretations, etc. One thing they are extremely good at is when they put their mind to it and they want to do a kind of reissue, I guess, of something that's historically important. They are extremely good at it. This one in the case, if I remember rightly, 2018, 2019. I might be wrong there, but I think it was round about then that this came out. This is the one with the kind of grey black dial. I guess the most faithful to that original one. I think it was Nobuhiro Kozugi that was entrusted to kind of redesign. And if you put it beside an original, which I am lucky enough to have an original as well, it's pretty damn close. It's as near as you're going to get, taking into account modern manufacturing, albeit with a much more modern and arguably refined engine inside it in terms of the movement, which obviously the original was non-hacking, etc. I have a real soft spot for Seiko, in general, right across from your Seiko 5s right through into your Grand Seikos and beyond. And when I saw that come out, I had to get it. And a lot of people do suck through their teeth, shall we say, when they know how much they did charge for them, which wasn't insignificant. But you'll be hard pushed if you put that against, to me, it's not a million miles away from the price point of something like a Rolex OP. And folk will probably argue there's no chance that's as good as an OP. I'd care to debate that for a while and say that, for the money and for what you're getting there, it's just every bit as good. So yeah, it's a favourite of mine. Not one that gets a huge amount of wrist time, which is strange. It's also, I think, partly because the one thing Seiko haven't learned yet is they like a long strap. you know, but everyone likes a long strap on.
So we're going to mention the bezel.
Yeah, that looks like something else there, yeah.
And when I've got a little weedy wrist, it's quite a long piece of floppy silicon. But actually, you know, whilst you mention that, Ricky, perfect bezel alignment. But to be fair, at that price point,
Can't tell,
bloody
too
better
dark.
be. Yeah, too dark. I'm living in my hovel for the winter. So yeah, that is my pick number 1. And like Ricky, I'm not doing these in any particular order.
Okay. He's doing it in chronological though.
Yeah, he's got chronological. Let me think. Am I going chronological?
Nah, just do
Arguably,
what you
yes.
want. Yeah.
Arguably, yes.
Okay.
Actually, I'm currently chronological.
Okay, cool. How long have you had this one, and what year is it?
I'm thinking round about 2018, I think, was when they came out. I'm actually just trying to remember. If you give me a second, I will look up a spreadsheet and see if I actually put the date in it, because I'm sad that way. And I
reckon
will
2017.
I think you might be right. 2017 and 2018, I think it is, round about there. I've not actually put the date on this sheet, but it was round about that neck of the woods. I got it literally as it came to market.
And the same question: how many watches have you got that you could call as a rotation collection, as opposed to the shitters and the other things that you have lying about?
I'll plead the 5th on that one.
Okay. No, thank you. No problem.
Okay. Don't
Is there
blame
a
me.
story behind this one though? Is there a story why you picked? Is it just you saw the specs and it came out and you bought it, or is there
I guess, you know, I've always had a soft spot, as I mentioned, for Seiko, and you know, this was the kind of beginning of when they started to, I think, look at their back catalogue and begin to seriously kind of reevaluate it, and I guess, like many brands, begin to bring forward and bring back in a real faithful way some of those things, some of those kind of pieces from history. I'm not one of these people who gets upset. You know, there's plenty of folks say, "Oh, you know, leave the past in the past, do something new." But I think it's such a historically relevant watch that, you know, when you look into the history of dive watches, when you look into the history of the kind of ISO certification for dive watches and all of these kind of things, you know, that watch, the 62 Mass, the original one, is so important in the kind of genesis of modern dive watches that I just felt it was something I wanted to add into the collection.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So, Ricky's number 2, please. Number 2, please, Ricky.
Have a pee, please, Bob.
Will we keep playing the chronological game?
No, just mess it up. Throw it out.
Just
It's
mess
up
it
to you, mate. We won't even know. You could tell us anything.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I'm going to play the game. So this is my 1967 Bulova Accutron 214.
Ah, okay. Very cool.
And I
It's
got
got the
this
tuning
one-
fork.
Yeah, tuning fork movement, and it actually works, and it's been recalibrated to use current battery technology, which some of them don't.
Oh, wow.
Obviously,
Okay.
Oh, wow.
I'll get better video that we can overlay in here because my webcam is not set up the greatest. So I got this one. I think it was 2017 as well. I went on a bit of a splurge when I first got into collecting, which is now coming up 6 years. And the reason I bought this one is when I was a kid, I used to watch a TV show in the UK called The Secret Life of Machines with Tim Hunkin and Rex Garrett, and they would take anything that you would find around the home or in the office or in the driveway, and they would do a deep dive on it, everything from the car engine through to the fax machine through to the VCR, and they covered the quartz watch. But the TV show wasn't just about the quartz watch, because that would have been quite a quick event. They took it from water clocks, Stonehenge, all the way through, right the way through to mechanical movements. They had people on from the Horological Society, and they showed the pulsar, and then they showed the Bulova Accutron, and they said it was the world's first commercially successful watch, and that seems to be the case. This one here, it got on eBay, and it was only about £600. Had been recently serviced. As I say, it did the battery upgrade, so you could use modern battery technology, not the old kind of silver ones. And it's not missed a beat, apart from when the battery runs out, because it does eat them. And the best thing about it is when you hold it to your ear, when it's operational, you can hear it humming, because it's got
You
that
hear the
distinctive
pulp in use.
360 hertz tone. So yeah, absolutely love it. They've recreated it a couple of times, but the original is always the best. and I do really enjoy wearing it. And I've worn it to different things. Took it to my second SIHH, and I was wearing it because I thought, if I'm going to a watch show and there's going to be thousands of people of all types, shapes and sizes, what am I going to wear that maybe no one else will be wearing at this event?
Yeah.
And I thought, I'll wear this because everyone will have a Batman, everyone will have a whatever.
Definitely.
And I was relatively new, 1 year into the hobby. I wore this, and I'm just walking through with one of my friends, and I get stopped by a Swiss gentleman, older guy, and he was there with a younger guy. And he grabbed my wrist, and he said, is that the Accutron, the Spaceview? And I said, yeah. And he turns to the guy that's with him and starts having this conversation. Back in the 70s, when I was a watchmaker and I was just learning stuff, we were working in these. You should see the technology that's in this. It's absolutely amazing. And I'm just standing there, absolutely transfixed with this guy telling a history lesson about a watch. Wow. And at the end, he reaches into his pocket and hands me his business card. He's one of the vice presidents at Blancpain. So
wow!
Really?
Wow!
That was an amazing sort of intro. Again, this was before doing Scottish watches, but it just made me more love the hobby, that somebody of that stature walking around would just grab a hold of me and go, wow, for an inexpensive watch. And then I wore this one over to America because I knew that I was going to be attending a panel talk on American watchmaking. And sure enough, they were talking about all kinds of things. And the gentleman sitting right behind me in the audience when they had a questions and answers session was talking away and said, oh, this guy here in front of me is actually wearing the Bulova, and I'm wearing the first electronic watch from Hamilton. So we did a dual wrist shot of the first two electronic watches, both American made. So that's why I have got this one. And again, never get rid of it. It's brilliant. And when you get the little video of me wearing it on wrist, I will probably put the battery in it for you.
Thank you very
awesome.
There's a great story.
There's a story, no, with a Spaceview as well. From when from the first edition, that originally the Spaceview was for display purposes only, and then people loved what the display model looked like so much because it was just extra, to show off the movement basically. But customers were asking, actually, can you remove the dial?
Can we buy that one? But no, we don't want a proper dial. We want to see all the stuff because that was back. It was just I don't know exactly when they first came out, but it was all about the space race and going to the moon. I believe that the CIA used Accutron technology, and when they went, Dave will know more about this than me, when they actually went on the Apollo missions, Accutrons were involved in some stuff to do with space exploration as well. So there's a lot of history there.
Yep. No, super cool piece.
Thank you.
Wow. That is quite something. So wear a unique watch, don't wear a hype watch, is what you're saying at a watch meet.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the massive things that we talk about in the podcast is it's not the amount of money something costs, it's the story that's associated with it or how it makes you feel. And wearing something that is so historically relevant, not only with the technology, but the fact me and my dad used to watch this TV show religiously every week. And this was one part of it. And more recently, if anyone wants to check, Tim Hunkin re-uploaded all those episodes from the late 80s, early 90s onto YouTube using AI upscaling technology, so it's the best it's ever looked. And he actually did a new series of different things, components, different machines, and he runs 2 arcades in the UK. One's in London, I believe, and the other one is at a seaside resort. And he creates all these amazing functions and toys and interactive arcade machines without electronics, really. It's all pulleys and gears and mechanisms. So one to have a look at if you haven't already seen it.
Awesome.
Wow.
Cool.
Thank you.
Quite taken aback with that one. Dave, you've got a big shoes to fill there.
I wonder if he's going to pull something big out there.
It's just disappointment. That's all I'll ever pull out.
It's cold in Scotland.
So there we go. Therefore, so we'll keep it on a space theme then. So I have, for my next selection, and I'm thinking, is it in chronological order? I think it is indeed still in chronological order. I have the Apollo.
Oh, the daddy.
I have the Apollo 11 Moonshine Speedmaster.
Beautiful.
Wow. Very
We're going to
nice.
pull this one out.
Heavy hitter.
So this is undoubtedly a heavy hitter, albeit one that very nearly wasn't, and is one that I love, but still question myself sometimes, I think, in regards to it. So I guess where all this starts is I am an absolute moon nut when it comes to aviation, space race, etc. That's one of the big rabbit holes. And I've always loved Speedmasters. as much for watches as it is the association with space and everything else that goes with it. So, it's part of a much bigger picture for me. And I was very lucky in that I was offered one of these. There's a very small number of them when they were reissued back at in 2019, in fact, at the anniversary of the moon landings. And I was very kindly offered one. As many folk will know, they issued an Apollo 11 in the stainless steel, and they also issued these Moonshine gold ones. I said no initially. I just said, do you know what?
Wow.
On a couple of fronts. One is I don't even register on the kind of scale of milk bottle. I register more on the scale of see-through. And I thought to myself that a gold watch just isn't going to sit well in me, and as much as I can appreciate gold watches and there's a beauty to them and everything else, I thought, if I'm not going to wear it, what's the point? And if I'm going to feel really self-conscious and everything else wearing it, what's the point? And, I'm a great believer in, like many things, whether it's watches or your cars or whatever you're into, use it. You don't buy things to hoard them, to not use them, albeit I'm sure we've all got more watches than we actually wear. But, as long as the kind of intent, I guess, is there to wear it.
Yep.
But sure as hell with something like this, if you're going to buy it, you better bloody wear it, because it would be just so bad to stick it in a box and not let it see the light of day. And I said no. And then I woke up the next morning in cold sweats thinking, you're an absolute lunatic, what have you done? And quickly made a phone call and said, can we reverse that conversation? Which was met by a burst of laughter, and said, yeah, I knew it was going to happen, so I'd already put your name on it anyway. Which kind of tells me that other people know me more than I know myself. But it has been a glorious piece. I own in fact, I'm trying to think, do I own anything else in all gold? Not a lot. Do I own anything modern in all gold like this? Nothing. Have I got a few two-tones? Yes. But gold's really not my thing. Titanium, stainless steel, sure. These kind of metals are my thing, and this isn't. But I absolutely love it. Lots of little details on it, down to it's the kind of one of the very first of the Speedmasters with a new generation of movement in it. The 3861. This one actually has a gold movement in it as well. You've got that teeny little
gold
piece,
movement.
albeit
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
You'll not see it on this video, but I'll try and get some good pictures. But maybe
if you get some B-roll
there.
Yeah.
And then you've got on the case back, you've got the tiny little insert of piece of moon dust in there as well in the case back on the bezel or the edge of the glass of the case back. It's just it is truly a work of art. It's up there with the best of the Speedmasters. I love space. I'm so glad that I made that giant leap towards bankruptcy with this. So yeah,
One giant leap towards bankruptcy. Excellent.
Yeah.
So
so
have you finished? Sorry, Dave. You carry on if you're still.
No. On you go.
Well, I'm going to jump in and say, if you want to steal some B-roll, me and Dave made a video on that when it first came out and he first got it. So there is a video on the Scottish Watches channel about that.
Oh,
brilliant.
Excellent. Okay, for that.
So what I was going to say is that there's nothing like a gold Speedmaster. I've seen, lots of watches in gold, and because it's so associated with steel, and then we saw some at the there was a little museum, a little part of the Speedmaster museum thing at the Omega Boutique in Regent Street this weekend.
That's right.
And we saw they had a couple of the gold pieces in there, the new modern ones, and there is just something special about that new bracelet in gold. And it looks better than a gold Daytona. I mean, Daytona's I love
blend,
Daytonas.
Is it not, Dave?
Yeah, so this one in particular is Moonshine, which was a new blend of gold. Obviously, Omega are quite well known for having used Sedna gold. They've used yellow gold historically as well, but more recently, I guess Sedna gold is that kind of one that they're known for, that they've used in various watches. They occasionally use a bit of rose gold, but this Moonshine was a kind of a blend that they put together as a bit of a celebration of that 50th anniversary as well. They have recently, I think, over the last 2 cycles, released a couple of additional Moonshine models, albeit this one is pretty packed in terms of all the bracelets gold, the case is gold, the movement's gold, the dial's gold. Pretty much everything that they can put on it that can be gold is gold. The more recent issues, I've still got a lot of gold. There's the bracelet and the case particularly, but not so much in terms of the dials and the movement. They've also done a couple in their kind of their variations of white gold as well, which are particularly stunning. But yeah, I agree. It's I think most watches in gold, there's something that is quite alluring about them. I guess gold's had that historical glow of kind of attractiveness to it that people get drawn to for whatever weird reason. Why do we as humans covet something you out the ground and it weighs a lot? It doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's the way it is.
Yeah. I noticed though with the Omega, what me and Palm saw at the boutique, that it's not a garish gold, if that makes sense. It's not like a real strong yellow gold what they use. It's a more wearable gold, I think, what Omega are using. It does look a lot nicer in person as well.
Yeah, I think maybe compared to that real gaudy kind of 80s, straight out yellow gold. Yeah. But don't get me wrong. When you've got it on, there's a degree of self-consciousness goes on. I think you have to be particularly self-obsessed and narcissistic to swagger about with one of them and not care. But there's definitely a bit of you thinks all the time, oh my God, this is truly horrific. What kind of idiot am I? But it's nice, and I guess I enjoy sometimes just looking at it. It's one of these watches that I will have very few watches of that ilk, just because it's not naturally my kind of stomping ground for watches. And when I do pull it out and I do put it on and I do look at it, I think that's something a little bit special. And me and Rikki have talked about this quite a lot, or Rikki and I, should I say, if I want to be grammatically correct. But we get to see a lot of watches, and you do become, sadly, you become a little numb sometimes to watches and to various things that you see, because lots of things are derivations of other things, and that's not to say they're fun and they're nice, but when you get something like that, it's a bit like when we saw the Vacheron 222 Watches and Wonders this year. There's an abiding memory when you play with something like that. You just think, ooh, that was pretty juicy. Even though at the same time we were handling, just as if not more expensive titanium Tourbillon Vacheron overseas, which are true works of art as well. They didn't quite leave the same impression as that big solid lump of gold on it. And just something about it for me that's just slightly different. It's quite special.
Do you think the colours like the red on that one is absolutely incredible? I don't know. It's almost not burgundy. It's just a special shade, and even the green that like we saw in the boutique, it was just something different. Like the John Mayer Daytona is very bright green, and I think it's very and the yellows. But the like as Andy was saying, the Omega do it so understatedly yet not bling, but it stands striking yet understated.
Yeah, I agree. I think possibly you've hit a mark there that Omega maybe don't get a lot of praise for. A lot of people don't realise with some of their, I guess, more unusual or pricey or more premium. Not that Omegas aren't all, they're all premium. Let's be honest. Any watch over a couple of £100 is premium. But when you start getting into this, that's a good point. When when you start getting into these punchy price points, and we're talking the kind of like, you could put a big deposit in a house price point type of area. Omega do have a subtlety to them that most people don't comment on them. As you say, there's those muted greens, those muted reds, muted blues, and they are actually, when you look at them, you think there's been a lot of time and attention to detail paid to this that just, I guess, gets glossed over quite a lot. They are very good at it. The one this year with the green in it is particularly stunning when you see it in real life.
Stunning piece,
Absolutely beautiful. Okay, well, that was a good comeback there. It's now up to Rikki now to let's see what's Rikki got for us. Number 3, please.
I'm doing it in chronological order all the way through here. And this is going to annoy Dave because this has got Dave's favourite complication in it. This is
here we
my
go.
Horage Tourbillon 1.
Horage. Okay, well.
Which
Nice.
is probably... It's not the cheapest Swiss tourbillon. It was at the time it came out, but I would say it's probably the best quality, especially at the price point. And again, we will get some better video because my webcam is pretty shonky. But the story with Horage goes back almost to the beginning of Scottish Watches in 2019. They'd actually emailed us in to say, here's a range of watches that we produce. Would you be interested in looking at them, talking about them, etc.? And they sent one over, and my original co-host at the time loved the watch they sent. I thought it was horrific. It had a carbon effect dial. Well, it was a carbon dial, but I thought it looked like a bin liner that had been stretched across the dial, and I said that.
Right.
And, yeah, he liked it, I didn't. I made some comments on it, and that's something that we've always been about on the show. If we like something, we'll say it. And everything's opinion. There's no such thing as a bad watch unless it digs into your wrist, it cuts you, or it doesn't tell the time properly, and it doesn't work within specification. And the watch did. It just didn't appeal to me visually. So I gave them a really hard time in the podcast, and they heard it, and they got in touch. And instead of throwing the toys out the pram, which a lot of brands do, we have a few people in our back catalogue that don't speak to us anymore because we're truthful.
Okay.
But they said, hey, we do other watches. Would you like us to send other stuff across? So I looked through their website. I picked one that was made from a meteorite, and it wasn't just a slab on the dial. It was carved like a crater, as if something had impacted. I picked that one. I picked another couple. They sent them across, and I got to have a look at them, and I believe I made a video on a couple of them as well. And that started the ball rolling instead of us just loving everything that every watch company ever does, which we don't do, and a lot of people do and historically have done. And it just went from there. They came across to Scotland. We were recording before COVID a video chat show, a bit like your David Letterman or Jimmy Kimmel, where we had a sofa. We would sit on one side, the guest or guest would sit on the other, and we would just go through what we do in the podcast, interview, tell us about your company, your history, show us some watches, and because it was a visual medium, we were able to then show a watch, cut to some B-roll, come back. So the guys from Horage came across, did that, and then they showed me a prototype of what they were working on, and that was the Tourbillon 1. At the time, yeah, we can talk about it, it's fine. At the time, they were working with Le Jouperet, who people might know as being a really good movement manufacturer. I think they're under Citizen Group. And they were getting their technology for the new watch from those guys. Then there was a change of CEO or managing director or somebody at the top at Le Jouperet, and they had a dislike for the folks at Horage. Maybe they'd seen that watch I didn't like. And they vetoed the whole contract and said, no, we're not supplying you these movements. Go take a run, jump to yourself. But instead of the guys at Horage saying, okay, we'll refund everybody their money, we'll just move on to something else, they said, well, we've already created one movement ourselves, the K1. Well, let's give this a go. It can't be that hard to make a tourbillon. And they went ahead with the project. It took them maybe about a year and a half to convert some of the technology they'd already made for the movement they already had out into what we see here just now. But this was completely ground up design of their own, not based on anything apart from the technology they had in their K1, and that has kind of moved into their K2. So this one here, I got finally, because of supply chain issues and COVID and everything, that was 2019, nobody could understand or predict what was going to happen in the world over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
I finally got my hands on this one last year before me and Dave went across to Dubai Watch Week. And again, it was the same kind of story. What the hell am I going to wear to an event where there's billionaire oil people and all kinds of folks over in the United Arab Emirates? And I thought, I doubt anyone's going to have an Horage, and I really doubt anyone's going to have one of these because they only ever made about 260 of them. And by the time I got mine, this was, I think it's model or serial number 101. Because I picked a good one, obviously, for myself, like Dave likes certain numbers. I thought I would do that. So I wore this one over there. And again, nobody had seen it before. People were making comments on it. It was not the most expensive piece there, but it was completely unique. The journalists liked it. The attendees liked it. The people that were running the different booths from different brands had a look at it. And it's got blue parts in it. And obviously, as you can see with the background and being Scottish watches, blue is a colour I'm into, as you've seen as well with the Batman. It is my colour, and absolutely love this guy. this one went back a couple of months ago because it turned out the movement inside the watch was stolen from another watch. Landon,
Right,
who
okay.
runs the marketing for it, not stolen as in the kind of stolen that Paul Thorpe talks about,
Crime.
stolen as in
Yeah.
borrowed
Watch crime.
semi-permanently.
Yeah.
Landon, who runs marketing for Horage, donated the movement out of his watch so I could have mine in time to go to Dubai. And I finally returned the watch to him so he could get his movement back. And I ended up with the Gen 2, which I didn't really see much problem with the original. I didn't see any problem at all. But apparently they weren't 100% happy with the way the watch wound. So they redeveloped the movement instead of resting on their laurels. And they made it more symmetrical. So in the B-roll that we'll cut in here, where the tourbillon sits at the 6 o'clock position, that has got a nice reflection on it just now, above it is the mainspring, whereas it used to be offset to the side slightly. So it's a far more symmetrical watch. I believe they've increased the power reserve ever so slightly, and these are all gone. Now that people are starting to wake up and see what these guys have done, they've been asking, where can we get one? Can we get one? No, they can't. They're gone. They're not coming back, but Horage have got a new tourbillon movement, not a new movement, well it is a new movement, but it's a new watch called the Lensman, which is designed with a lot of photography-inspired themes mixed in, and that one, I believe, starts to go on pre-sale at the end of this month, and me and Dave got a chance to see these watches over at Horage's headquarters during the summer when we were invited over for a little trip, and we got to see how they manufacture stuff, design stuff, do all the things that they promise to do in-house, genuinely in-house, they don't lie about it, and they're very open and honest. I'd say they're the most open and honest company, movement manufacturer and watchmaker on the planet. They don't hide anything, and when someone does a good job and another production facility creates something, they will tell you, by the way, it is this company that makes it, and they'll actually name the company. They don't care about keeping the trade secrets. They want everybody to kind of come together, work together. And as a side thing, Horage's first movement I mentioned, their K1, is now the movement that Bremont have licensed the IP for, and they're using in their integrated bracelet, their ENG 300 series, including the new Supernova that came out just a month ago there. And when we had Nick from Bremont on the show, he was singing the praises of the guys from Horage for their technology and their prowess, and sharing that technology with the world. So there you go, that's the story of my Tourbillon 1.
Wow.
That's
So just
really cool.
On the design on that, so that's you'd say symmetrical skeletonized tourbillon. Would that be correct? Is there anything else? I mean, that's a lot going on anyway, but does it have any other points of interest?
Yeah, it's manual wind, it's COSC, and it's far beyond COSC. It runs at, I believe, 1 second a day fast, and I've not measured it in a while. And that was after I dropped it in Dubai in the hotel room after a tipple, and I didn't tell anybody about this until the watch went back. They changed the movement, then I admitted what I'd done wrong. It's completely manual wind, but it's got 5-day power reserve, 120 hours at least. That's the low ball estimate. I've had more than that. I've almost had a week out of it when I've given it a full wind. It's got an IBM Excimer laser engraved hologram that you'll never be able to see in this shot here, but it's on the little shiny disc nearest the crown, which you can't see on there, but yeah. Armin Strom also helped. They had a hand in it, and the watch designer that put this together created the design, the kind of lattice grid arrangement.
Yeah.
Is a girl called Marcella. She used to work at Horage, used to work at Armin Strom, and now works between both of them. They helped with the production because they've got amazing facilities, and again, they work hand in hand with Horage and different other brands over there. And the thing I like the most about it, when you wear it, and you can't tell on my shitty webcam, but the faceted edges on that grid arrangement, the angle they've been cut and polished, that means when you have this watch on the wrist, it will pick up and glint any kind of light anywhere in the room and direct it into your eyes.
Nice.
So it's always catching your eye. There's always a sparkle from it. Yeah, absolutely love it. And can't wait to see what the guys are going to do next.
Well, how much would that have cost if you could get one?
Buttons. It came out, I think it was about 6.5, because I jumped in super early, and what they do is, and in-house. It wasn't like, as I say, they didn't get it from Le Jouperet. They had to create their own thing from the ground up. You can't get anything at that price. I think the most or the least expensive tourbillon, apart from these guys from Switzerland before all the really, really cheap, nasty ones started to come out, was Tag, what they had in their nanograph, and that was about £16,500, £17,000 UK. I mean, this one came out, as I say, 6.5, and far, far better, in my humble opinion.
Stunning looking. That is really
Yeah.
good looking.
Absolutely.
Brilliant, yeah.
Wow. Thanks, Rikki. So, Dave, can you beat that?
Dave, show me your tourbillon.
We don't do tourbillon here. We don't do tourbillon.
No tourbillon?
Like, no tourbillon. So I staying chronological by random is my Moser Streamliner.
Ooh, another heavy hitter.
So,
Talking my language.
You guys have really, you've pulled out all the stops, both of you, today.
this is potentially, I would say, my favourite watch. End of story. This broke many barriers for me. I am not a bracelet person by a general rule. Pretty much every watch I buy, if it only comes in a bracelet, it usually ends up on a strap. If I want it on a strap, I might buy it on the bit, but I'll almost instantaneously put it onto a strap. So, for example, all my Speedmasters are typically on straps. The bracelet comes straight off. I'm trying to think up until this point. Yes, Rikki. Yes, Rikki. Yes, darling. Yes, darling.
Did you not put a bracelet on your snippy?
We'll come to that. That's we're staying
well,
chronological. Okay. We're staying chronological.
That's a later conversation, is it?
This is a later conversation.
I'm sure that came on a strap and you put a metal bracelet on it, but carry on.
But that came after this.
She's blowing his fourth choice, haven't you?
Staying chronological. No, you haven't actually. My fourth choice is going to get some heckles raised. Let me put it like that. So this was kind of, I guess, the beginning of my journey into bracelets. Bracelets for me, I've always think, I guess it's love-hate. I love the design of some of them. I love the look of them, but either trying to get them to fit or comfort, etc., etc. I've just always found straps more comfortable. I've got quite a small wrist. It's about just over 6 inches. It's tiny, but it's not big either. And I just find bracelets, typically the clasps are either too impinging into my wrist, etc., etc. And when I saw this watch, albeit originally the chronograph Streamliner, which was a bigger watch, I was mesmerized by it. I can remember seeing it for the first time and thinking, oh my God, what is this thing of beauty? And, I was kind of like idealizing it and loving it in a way you shouldn't love an inanimate object. But just everything about it, the bracelet, that kind of armadillo style links that link into each other, the way they articulate, the shape of the case. And, albeit, yes, it's a watch, and yes, you can only, a bit like the wheel, there's only so much you can do with it before they're similar to everything else. But for me, it was one of these watches that was so unique and so different from pretty much anything else. And this is no doubt in the notes or the comments where someone will say, oh, that's based on a watch from 1920 something, but ignore all that. I've not really come across anything like this in terms of a whole package, whether it be the bracelet. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. This is a classic case of, the whole thing is more than the individual parts. The bracelet, the head of the watch, the dial, just the package, the complete package makes this. If you were to remove almost any part of it, it wouldn't be complete in the way that it is as this product. And I remember thinking, it's a wee bit too big, price is pretty punchy for the chronograph version, and they make tiny numbers, and then this come along. And by no means is it inexpensive, but it was kind of broaching into the bounds of attainability, shall we say, at that point in time. And the size was smaller, which was, again, one of the most important things. It was pretty much on 40mm. And I just thought, that's just my little sweet spot there. And I love the dial. I've got a thing for green dials. I really do like green dials. Yeah. And we'd had Edouard from Moser had been on the podcast, and I think Rikki will agree, we don't, and we try not to, leverage our contacts or people we have in the podcast because, try and get fair. We don't think it's fair and we don't think it's the right way to do things. But, I asked the question. I just said, speak for yourself. But I just messaged him and I said, look, I love this watch. Is there any chance that, I could be considered to buy one? And I said, I'm not looking for a deal, a freebie or anything like that. I just, I would really like. And he said, let me see what I can do. And he came back to me after a few days and said, if you want to buy one, we'd love to sell you one. And the story commenced from there. And it's a watch that not really a week goes by since I've had it that I've not worn it, at least, even if only for an hour in that day or an evening or something along those lines, or worn it for the whole day. And I absolutely adore this watch. And it's as near to perfect as I think I've found or I'm likely to find. So it's pretty simple. It's not more than just something that from the minute I saw it, I thought, that's it. That's just hit the nail on the head. Yeah, people, I guess, still maybe, you get asked the question, what's your grail watch? And, I guess I flippantly say when asked that question, a Grubel Forze, for no other reason than at £500,000. I ain't ever buying a Grubel Forze. But, I think the truthful answer is I actually am a very lucky individual in that I probably have my grail watch, and it's probably this one.
Awesome.
So,
wow.
Since we've been doing these reviews, you can tell when someone's got their favorite watch in their hand, and you, because of the look on their face, and you just had that look on your face of the little grin that can't stop looking at it, and it just seems like you are genuinely taken with that watch. Do you think that anything could come close?
I guess others come close. I love the gold Speedmaster that I talked about earlier. I love that, albeit in a different way. There's certain bits of it. It is a gaudy. Let's be honest. It's a gold watch. There's a certain awareness you have about it when I wear it, thinking, I'm wearing a gold watch. It kind of draws attention, rightly or wrongly. The Moser's one that I feel I can quite literally wear it, short sleeve, long sleeve. I can wear it out and about. I can wear it anywhere. And other than being stupid about it, very few folk will even have half a clue of what it is either. And I don't feel self-conscious wearing it or anything else. And it's funny, it's very few people make comment on it. It's only people that really do know watches that might clock it and go, oh, that's nice. Whereas you wear a gold watch or you wear certain other watches or certain brands, and people will, oh, that's a nice watch, without necessarily knowing a lot about it. So it's just.
You keep looking at it when you're walking down the street with it on. Do you keep finding yourself just glancing, even though you don't know what the time is, you just keep looking at the watch?
Yeah, and actually, do you know, the strange thing is sometimes a lot of watches, like, when you start moving into the kind of your higher end and independence, time telling isn't all second nature in a lot of watches like that. It's more about design and stuff. This watch is clinically clear to tell the time on. You can just glance at it and you can tell the time. So, I guess from a practical perspective, it hits the brief on the head as well.
Yeah. No, brilliant.
Okay.
I think Moser's one of my favourites at the moment. Yeah, what they're doing some amazing things.
They're an amazing brand, and again, I guess like all brands, not everything they do sings to me, but quite a lot of what they're doing at the moment certainly does sing to me.
Yep.
Does that bracelet fit different? Does it feel different when you said the whole armadillo style composition, layout of it? Does it actually feel different on the wrist, or is it just like any other bracelet?
I guess it just feels comfortable. I've got some bracelet watches that I wear and I think, it's comfy enough. I've got others that really aren't particularly comfy. For example, the bracelet on the gold Speedmaster, which is also very similar to the new Speedmasters, it depends on the temperature. It depends on how I'm wearing it. It's either comfy or it's not. It does, as my wrist swells a little in heat, but it's not a big wrist, so it doesn't swell a huge amount, but it swells enough that it can nip me that bracelet and not. There's no micro adjust on the Moser, and I've worn it in the summer, I've worn it in the winter, and I've never had to tweak or modify the bracelet, and I've never had to take it off because I thought, it's getting a bit tight. So that, I guess, says it all. I've worn it in all climates, environments, and it's never been a problem for me. And in as good a way as you can, I forget I'm wearing it.
Okay, nice. Excellent. Thank you so much. And Rikki, number 4, it's the last one.
So I found myself in my emails trying to leverage getting a watch at Max Busser. I got this.
Oh, the M.A.D one. Big red,
Yeah.
is that
So
cool? Yeah.
the story with this guy is I had Max Busser on, I believe, for a Christmas edition or an end of year edition, maybe the end of 2020. And he was talking about lots of things, and he never cracked a light that they had a M.A.D edition coming out, the M.A.D one. And then a few months later, the blue and the white one came out, and the story goes that MB&F create amazing watches, but when you create an amazing watch, you have to charge a price that's relevant for the research and development and the wages. And if you've got somebody in Switzerland creating a watch, they have Swiss wages. Doesn't matter if the movement that goes inside is a iota, they still have Swiss wages. But what he wanted to do was to pay back and thank everybody that had collaborated with him that perhaps couldn't afford 100 grand, 500 grand, etc., etc. So he created the M.A.D one in blue and white using a iota movement, but completely turning it on its head or putting it inside out. And he wanted to do this to thank his collaborators and his helpers. So that was an amazing story, and I was a little bit cheeky, and I emailed him and said, so see this MB&F, Max Busser and friends, your helpers, your collaborators, does that include podcasters that you've been on their shows? And he said, oh, I'd love that to be the case, Rikki, but unfortunately we don't have any left. We only made a certain amount, and we're not likely to do anything again with this. But, what we'll do is I'll keep your details on file, and if we ever do anything in the future, I'll give you a shout. And I thought, that sounds like applying for a job, and we'll keep your details on file. Thank you for your interest, sir. So I didn't think anything of it until I think it was a year later, or just under a year later. I was in bed and my phone popped up and said, you've got an email from the guys at MB&F. So I looked at it and it said, I kept your details on file and we're about to do a new watch. Would you like one? We've put you on the reserve list. Let me know if you want one. If not, I'll go to the next person on the list to see if they're interested. And within 11 minutes of getting that email, I was out of bed, on the PC, booted up, logged in, card in hand, ready to rock, placed the order, and I was in the system. I was going to be getting myself a M.A.D one red. Went across to Watches and Wonders, and everybody that was there, the other journalists, other people that had been involved in the process, they buggered off to Geneva's MB&F showroom to pick theirs up, and me and Dave were kind of concentrating on the showroom there for a couple of days, and it's a massive event, and I made the conscious decision. I didn't want to go and get a new watch because I wanted to concentrate on all the things that were happening there, and I didn't want to be jaded or my eye taken off the ball. We were there to do a job, to cover the show, not to cover Rikki's new watch, so I didn't bother with it. And then I got that FOMO. I saw Zach Blass from Time and Tide wearing his, Barbara Palumbo, she had hers, and I thought, right, I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm just going to be a good boy. So we did the show, came back, then I emailed in and said, right, okay, can you just send me the thing just now? And it arrived just a couple of weeks later. And initially, I had one of those, should I have done this moments? Do I really want to buy this?
Oh, really?
And when it arrived, I thought, oh, it's chunky, and yeah, it's a iota movement, and it's a lot of money, but it's an MB&F. And it doesn't matter what movement's in it. That's something that I actually talk about in the show, and I had to take my own medicine a little bit. It doesn't matter what's in it, it's how it makes you feel. It's how the story, it's how it looks. That's what counts. And if it tells the time and it's fairly accurate, as I said at the beginning of this live stream or this recording, it doesn't matter. Everything else is secondary. And it's grown to become not my favourite, because I don't have a favourite of my children, but on the table here are my favourite children of the flock. And this is definitely within the sort of top 3, I would say top 3 or 4. And when I wear it, it doesn't matter if it's somebody that's into watches or it's somebody that has never paid any attention to watches in their lives before. Everybody comments on it. And it's a little bit like an adult, if I can get it to go, an adult fidget spinner.
Yeah.
yeah.
Right? So
Expensive one, yeah.
catches,
It's
an expensive one.
Yeah.
But if that's on wrist and you're talking to someone, because it glints and it shines, it will grab their
Moves,
attention no
or-
matter
yeah.
what. And then it's a talking point. It's an icebreaker. It's a conversation starter. And most people, 9 out of 10 people, even watch folks, cannot tell the time on it. They look at it and they say, how does it work? And they're looking dial side for something, you know, and they don't have a clue. And then eventually I have to say, well, what you do is you rotate it and you read, like an egg timer, the time from the bottom there. And the best part is, which I can't do just now because I've got this watch on, but when this is on wrist, you can be in a meeting, and if you do the whole turn the wrist to see what time it is, everybody knows that you're wanting to get the hell out of the meeting. With this one, because the time's at the bottom, all you have to do is glance down slightly, and you know what time it is.
Arms on the desk. It's facing you, isn't it? Arms on the desk. It's facing you. Yeah.
Anywhere at all. So it's a great
perfect meeting watch.
It's a meeting watch. It's not a driver's watch because it's still kind of pointing down slightly, but it's a great meeting watch. And as I say, normal folks who've got no interest in watches, they comment on it, they ask about it, and then when they hold it, they go, Jesus Christ, that is so light, because it's made predominantly of glass. It's got sapphire crystal on the top, and the side profile and the underneath is glass.
Right. Okay.
So it weighs nothing at all. The strap is phenomenally comfortable, articulates very, very well. And at the price point, I think it was about $3,000, roughly, there or thereabouts, after the customs duties and things like that.
$3,000 for an MB&F.
Oh my God. I was thinking massive amount of money. I didn't know it was $3,000. Wow.
Well, no, but it's a massive amount of money from Iota Movement. You know, it's probably the most expensive watch with that in it.
Of course.
But the thing is, as I said at the start of the talk, at the start of the talk on this particular watch, I said that MB&F, the people that put their watches together, they get paid a Swiss wage relevant and commensurate to their skill level, how long they've been in the industry and their experience. And it's the same guys that make those $100,000 to $500,000 watches that are putting these together. So the wage that they get paid has not come down. They're still putting the same care and attention in. So this is an absolute bargain. And it was talked about when the first M.A.D one came out, that MB&F are probably losing money on every one they make because of the wages they have to pay, because of the finishing on the thing. There is not a screw head, a bolt, or any way you can see how this thing is put together. And everyone I've given it to, including watchmakers, have looked at it and they've studied it and they're like, how the hell has this been put together? I can't understand how it works. So you've got all this magic in it, all this Max Busser magic. And Dave didn't like this watch to start with. And as with me, although it was a lot quicker with me because it was in hand, over the months, Dave's kind of come around to it. And I'm pretty sure he's put his name down on the next batch of releases, which will be out hopefully next year. Because again, so many people were interested in getting this that they ran an auction, a raffle. It's not an auction, it was a raffle. Put your name down and we'll give you the opportunity to buy one. 25,000 people registered for that raffle. That's what kind of interest there was in a inexpensive MB&F.
Wow. How many did they make in the initial drop then? The red and the white, and then
I think the white was blue about and the white, 500 for the blue and the white. This one, maybe 1,000 of them, there or thereabouts. I'm not entirely sure. But
Still,
it wasn't
a huge number.
Yeah.
Someone wants 13 grand. Someone wants 13 grand for one on eBay at the moment.
Oh, they started at 20. So a $3,000 watch was going for 20, and there was quite a few people out there that had entered the raffle multiple times using many email accounts, trying to game the system. A few people did, a few people didn't. But again, that's another watch that will not be leaving the collection because
I believe it.
What to replace it with, you know?
So I'm kicking myself. The last Red Bar event, Kevin had one on his wrist, and he was busy talking all the time. And I spotted it, and I thought it was one of them because I'd seen yours, Rikki. I'm sure last time he came on, did he just have it back? Did he have it?
You had it. Yeah.
So I'd seen it in my head,
June,
and then
June.
Yeah, I just never managed to grab him in time. And when I spoke to him next time, he said he had the match. I'm kicking myself for not, because he wouldn't let me try it on and everything, but he was busy. So I didn't want to interrupt him and get it off his hand. But he admitted it was a red one. I spotted it. I thought it was M.A.D one. Yeah, wow, I love it. Yeah, I really do.
Yeah, it's the Oasis watch. M.A.D one.
Yeah,
mad for it.
Man from Manchester, so yeah, mad for it. Yeah.
So the batch that Dave's going for, would that be red, white, or blue, or are they going for a green?
I think it's red again. Happy? They're not going to do the blue because that was special for people that were sort of helping out. but there was just such demand for it. And he could have said no. I mean, Max could have said, listen, we're here to make money so people get paid wages so we can research, develop and create new products. For the fact that he's still letting people buy these, there was horrible stories of people that were really, really jealous and getting really, really annoyed behind the scenes. It wasn't Max that told me this, it was other folks in the industry, other journalists, that when somebody was getting their watch, obviously these aren't created with a machine, as I say, it's a skilled person that puts them together. And people were watching out for people getting their watch and finding out which order number they had, or when they first mentioned on social media they'd placed the order. And if they get their watch before somebody else, they were writing in and complaining and going absolutely crazy about it. Really? So it kind of brought out a little bit of venom for people that were jealous, not because they weren't even getting the watch, but because they weren't getting their watch first, which is not what the community's all about. So hopefully it calms down a little bit.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Dave,
will he be will he be $3,000 when he come out the next lot? Will he be? Is that what she'll be?
Yeah.
Or whatever in and about that, I would guess.
Did you say Dave's one of the guys that was complaining about?
No.
Well spotted.
He's the one who does it.
Man, that's brilliant. I like that a lot. That's just I like
it. Says a lot for Max because he did something that cost him money and put his staff under duress and pressure to create hundreds of watches. And MB&F don't make thousands of watches per year. I'm not really sure on how many, but I can't imagine it's a whole ton. And this is taking him away from making those expensive watches.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Doing God's work.
That's an amazing watch. That it really. We saw how you change it as well. I mean, we could go into that, but I'm probably overrun on the show.
Well,
but,
I'll send you some B-roll of it on wrist, how it spins, even the loom, when this thing lights up and you give it a flick like that and it goes absolutely mental.
Oh wow.
The loom on it just goes round and round, and God help you if you've got epilepsy.
Spinning top kind of thing, right?
Perfect. Yeah. Perfect rave watch.
If you're bored of the meeting, you can just spin it around, can't you? If you're bored of the meeting, you can flick
I use it to hypnotise people.
Yeah.
Anything that's been good in my life that's happened in the last 6 months is because I hypnotised someone with this.
Excellent. Wow. Fantastic.
Wow. Okay. So, Dave, your final one. Yeah, here we go. Challenge.
Yeah, we go.
Gauntlet thrown down. Yeah.
Well, Rikki, unbeknownst to him, mentioned Max doing God's work at the end there, and what I'm about to show you is likely to, as they say in the Old Testament Lamentations, there's going to be gnashing of teeth when I bring up the next one, which is an Apple Watch.
Falls at the last hurdle.
Well, that's,
and I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep
Thanks
it.
for joining us, people.
Generic.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I'm going to keep it.
There
we go. I'm going to keep it generic to Apple Watch, and I'll tell you why. I have owned every generation of Apple Watch, and it's an amazing technology. It's an amazing watch. It's an amazing, and the watch industry and all of us in the community have also got a lot to be thankful for. The fact that they did this. It's probably one of the single biggest drivers about why there are so many people now enjoying watches, buying watches, engaging in the community, because there were multiple generations of people that just didn't wear watches. They had no interest, no need to wear a watch. They had a phone. Watches were something for the elite, not for the youth, not for most people, because why would you? And then suddenly between Apple Watch and Fitbit and various other fitness trackers, people started putting something back on their wrist. And it's not the whole
wasn't the Moon
reason,
Swatch then?
But it definitely wasn't the Moon Swatch. But even brands like Swatch, which are, relatively inexpensive, accessible watches that are broadly bought by kids and teenagers and young adults because they're accessible, they were not in the best place they've been in their history either, even as, a brand as accessible as Swatch watch, because people just didn't wear watches. And, it's definitely something that got people back into it. And aside from that, I like a bit of technology, I like my, computers and phones and gadgets and everything else like anyone else. And when that first one came out, it was a flawed oyster, what we call it, it had its challenges, crap battery life, didn't do very much, really, to be honest with you. And yeah, I have. And this is the latest generation. This is the Ultra, which is the first time I've kind of deviated from your standard Apple Watch and it's the watch I wear more than anything. Since Apple Watches came out, barely a day's ever gone by where I don't have an Apple Watch on this wrist. I wear my good watch, if you want to call it, or my mechanical watch, or my quartz watch, or whatever it is, on my other wrist, and I dual wrist. And it's a great bit of technology. And say what you want, and I'm sure probably half the audience are going, well, it's not a watch. I wear it on my wrist and it tells the time. It's a watch.
You see, I had one of the first gen Apple Watches, and what drove me mad with it was just constant WhatsApp messages, and I couldn't respond to them via the watch, really. It was just like, okay, now I need to get my phone and reply, but it just drove me mad. It was like buzzing all the time. Doesn't notifications on it drive you mad?
I guess initially, definitely there was times where it did, but it's got in one of the ways that Apple are good at, it has got pretty refined, and it's, I guess, like on your phone with the focus modes and all these things you've got now. If you spend the time, you can set it up and you can tune it to how you want, and I've got it now, so it allows texts or messages in from a select number of people that I want to see on my wrist. It tells the time. It does my fitness tracking, and it does calls, notifies me of calls from people I want. So I've got it set up. I spent the time setting it up, and it's now a pretty refined environment. In the same way, though, as I'm sure Rikki will tell you more on this as well. He's pretty much got every notification possible turned off on his phone because he keeps it in a way that he likes
just
it.
Dave, I don't tell him that.
It's just me. But I guess notifications have become the bane of everyone's life, whether it's your phone or your laptop or
endless.
Everything else. And it's you just have to learn to control these things. But I think it's a great bit of kit, and it's definitely a watch. And please stop calling it an iWatch, me people, because it's definitely not called an iWatch either.
Wow, so that surprised the hell out of me with that one there. Yeah, you really threw a curveball there. I'm going to knock it because it's a watch, as you said, and it's but you surprised me seriously.
Well, before we finish this up, and I'll add a part on to Dave's story there.
I did have a question for George. Sorry, Rikki. So, in terms of just some informational interest for the viewers, you say you've owned every single generation. How many generations have they been, and what have been the improvements with each one as they've gone along up to this one?
So, what do they call them? I think they technically call them series, don't they? So, the current ones, I think we're on Series 8 is the current generation. Initial one was just straight Apple Watch, then Series 2 and onwards, and I'm pretty sure it's been yearly, so this will be year cycle 8. For this year, you've got the Series 8, or I don't think this is actually called the Series 8 Ultra. It's just called the Ultra because it's the first Ultra version, but we're on effectively the 8th generation, and it's broadly night and day would be a good way to describe it. The first one was probably you could argue it was verging on a beta product that kind of was a proof of concept and put a few of them out there and see how it works. Battery life's got significantly better. Charge times have got real fast to charge them. Always on screens when initially it wasn't. You've got cellular standalone. I've actually kind of messed about with this, left my phone at home for a day and just tried to use this as my device. And actually, not ideal, but you can definitely get away with it. Put it this way, pre the days of mobile phones, you probably never thought you would have something that small in your wrist that could do what most smartphones can do these days. So they've improved vastly. I mean, this one's the big chunky boy, but battery life without charging it, I get an easy full 2 days out of it, which is too bad, to be honest, considering what it does.
It's come a long way.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say was when we had Jean-Claude Biver on the show, I think it was our 200th episode. He was singing the praises of Apple and the Apple Watch for exactly the reasons Dave said there, that it got people, especially younger people, wearing something on the wrist again, having not done it for decades and thinking it was a bit passé. And Dave's very much exactly correct about the whole notifications thing. I hate technology as much as I love it. I hate the fact that it was designed to serve us, and more it seems to be our controller and master. So I started my watch journey most recently with a Pebble smartwatch, which was one of the first ones that would link with your phone and show you notifications. It never really worked properly. It was even worse than the Series 1 Apple Watch. But I found quite quickly that I didn't like the fact I'd be sitting there and it would buzz and it would break my concentration no matter what I was doing. If I was doing design work, photography or whatever, I'd look down at my wrist. And even in meetings that me and Dave are in, you'll see people, all right, okay, that's really interesting. And then suddenly they're looking at their wrist and you've lost them for a second and they have to catch up. That's why I don't have one. And that's why my mobile phone, as Dave rightly says, all my notifications apart from phone calls and text messages, they're the only things that come through. Everything else is turned off.
Wow.
Nice choice, I think.
Yeah.
Can I ask you guys just to give a plug for your up and coming shows, what you've got coming on the next couple of weeks, whatever? Anything interesting?
Oh, I can't tell you stuff like that.
Oh, stuff that you know. Oh, you can't. Oh, really?
I'm kidding on. Well, when's this going out?
Yeah, it's true. This is going out a bit. Yeah.
We can tell you some of the highlights from the last year if you like.
Yep. Please do.
Yeah, just give yourself a plug or whatever. Yeah,
well, I'll go first because you know what Dave's like coming second. I would say if people haven't heard our show and they're looking for something a little bit different and unique and they're genuine watch enthusiasts that love a good tale and a good story, listen to episode 300 of the podcast. That was where we brought on Gerald Genta's wife and daughter to celebrate our 300th edition. And no one had really thought of doing this before, as far as we can tell. But we thought, yeah, they probably get a good story that they can spin a yarn for an hour or so. And Evelyn came on and she, I believe, was 73. She wouldn't like me saying that in public, but she was 73 years old. And she came on and ran rings round me, Dave and Ryan. Her storytelling ability is just second to none. It's like Jean-Claude Biver again. And she told the story of how she met Gerald Genta and how they got together as a couple was he slagged her watch off and said it was ugly and hideous. So that is probably the best one.
That is a great episode. I've heard that one. I could definitely vouch for that, Rikki.
It's phenomenal. And we had such amazing feedback. And I shit myself when that show was about to air. And I'm usually quite, it'll be fine. It's good. But the day before that one went out, I thought, have I really made a mistake here? Is it just me that thought this was a good idea and thinks this is a really good storytelling edition? No. It was phenomenal, the response we had. So much so, we actually managed to reconnect Evelyn Genta with a watch that she wanted that Gerald Genta had been involved in. It was a Universal Genève pole router. And she said, it's one of the few watches I really, really want, and I've never been able to get it. One of our listeners heard this, a gentleman from Dublin, and he got in touch with her, flew over to her work because she works at the Monaco Embassy in London, went over, met her for afternoon tea, sold her the watch, and that watch worked its way back to its historic home. So that's a great episode people should check out if they've never heard any of our shows.
We will do. Didn't you say that it took you quite a long time to get all the meetings set up? Or am I imagining?
Well, it was nearly a year. It was.
Remember you say that? I remember you actually telling us that it was a year. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. We started round about December, January time, and I believe it was September, October was when the show got recorded and put out. But it was worth the wait. And then we had them back again this year. And even though the first one was amazing, see, the second time round, they were more relaxed. They'd been involved, well, obviously, Evelyn had been involved. She was the business mind of Gerald Genta. He would have been just another starving artist if it wasn't for her behind the scenes making things happen. And between them, they were the power couple of the watch industry. But the second time round, she was a lot more relaxed. First time, she was probably expecting us to try and stitch her up and create a headline and do a tabloid scoop on her. Second time round, there was more stories about things that had happened, and both of those episodes are probably my two favourites.
And what's the second episode number, please? Can you remember that?
Oh, come on. Start at 300 and then Google it.
Start at 300, Dave. Work your way up.
300, yeah. Brilliant. Yeah. Okay, just give me a quick look for you. Go on. Sorry.
I was going to say, I think my favourites, or some of my favourites certainly, episode 400 with Roger Smith. So two of mine, I guess, are at the opposite ends of the spectrum. Episode 400, having Roger on, and Roger's he's been on a couple of times, not necessarily for a full episode, but getting Roger just to have a chat with him again, very much like Evelyn Genta, what initially would have been an hour's chat turned into, okay, we've not got enough time, we need to just come back and revisit it, and we will have something soon kind of coming back with more information there, so talking arguably with one of the greatest living watchmakers on the planet on that one. And then at the opposite end of the spectrum, and no disrespect to young Curtis, but episode 378, where we had a young collector, Curtis Kane, who's a young kid, really just kind of beginning his little journey in watches, if we want to call it that, as much as folk hate the phrase journey in watches, but it is his start out. And he's a young guy, and at his age, I probably wouldn't have had the guts to do what he did, and he decided, Dubai Watch Week, that sounds like fun. I'm just going. And he did, and he went on his own all the way out to Dubai and kind of just had to wander around, and good on him. And he's a kind of eloquent young gentleman that had a chat with us on the episode as well. I guess allows us to show as many sides of the industry and the community as possible.
You didn't tell the story properly, Dave. Why did he go to
tell the
Dubai Watch
story
Week?
properly. Or did you not hear about it somewhere?
He heard our show with Hind Siddiqui talking about Dubai Watch Week and what it was all about. And he was a kid, I think he was 17 or 18. He was listening to this and decided, sod it, bought a ticket to Dubai, found somewhere to stay for a week, and went across himself at such a young age. Just a spur of the moment thing after hearing them talking about this watch show. And he went across, he met everybody, he met Konstantin Chaikin, Dave met him. I didn't meet him there at the show himself. And his attire and his outfits were just legendary. He had a purple suit, and everybody just loved him walking around. And he was young and just into everything. The posts he put on Instagram when he came back and when he was there were amazing. And we shared that story with the folks at Dubai Watch Week, the whole team over there. And we heard afterwards that of all the stories of all the millionaires and the billionaires and everybody, all the collectors who went there, the story of the young kid who listened to Hind Siddiqui on the Scottish Watches podcast, booked a ticket to Dubai and went there himself. That was their favourite feel-good story of the whole event.
Oh, brilliant.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Wow.
Excellent. And the Scottish Watches podcast drops every Monday and Thursday on your favourite podcast place, wherever you find them. So look out for that show. I'm a personal fan, so I can vouch for everything they're saying.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. Okay, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you for, obviously, to Palm and Andy for being part of the unit as normal. Thank you. And thank you, Rikki and Dave, again, for coming on and making the show just so entertaining like you do.
And brilliant watches.
Thank you.
Yeah,
brilliant
watches.
Great stories.
Watch.
Thank you. Brilliant.
I was
Yeah,
expecting
brilliant
4
watches,
Casios each or something.
It's not just about the watches, it's about the guys who have them, and about the people. And you two are, you two are excellent. Just
Now we have to get these back to their owners before they know it's a mistake.
Need to get these back through those broken windows.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. Well, I'm going to wrap this up, guys, with the outro. Thank you so much, everybody. Hope you all enjoyed the show, and we'll see you again soon. Goodbye.
Thank you.
See you later.
Thank you very much.
Bye.